So you're sitting around beating yourself up because you don't know what to cook your fave for dinner. Your favorite place doesn't do dining anymore and you're tired of dropping fat stacks on their subpar delivery version of what you used to go in and sit down and enjoy. Well, it's time to nut up, take things into your own hands, get into the kitchen, start whipping up mommy something so good, she'll be doing the ooey.
Let me see what you can do with the ooey too. First you hit the nay-nay, then you hit the bop. Everybody going quick, carry it on the
cooking, not cleaning, we smoking and seasoning, grilling, sauteing, and chilling is the reason. Raddad Cooks, y'all.
What's up, gang? Raddad Cooks here. Before mommy straps on those ooey shorts, we gotta get everything mise en place here, ready to go. First things first, gonna roast up some garlic. A handful of garlic cloves, toss in some oil, season salt and pepper, 400 degrees, 30 to 40 minutes. For mushrooms, we're using large portobello mushroom caps. These things have a lot of flavor, they're very meaty. Pop the stems off and thick slice them. For some flavor in our sauce, add a little sweetness to it. We're gonna go with half of a large shallot, diced small. Little sweet basil to complement our marsala sauce. Want to get the largest leaves in our bunch here, about 6 or 7 of them. Stack them up and slice through either side of that stem. That way we can get that stem out of there. Nobody likes mowing down on a 4-star meal and gnawing into a little stem. Twist that basil up into a little basil cigarette. Slice your knife through it, about 1/8 inch thick. We're gonna get a nice little pile of some julienne basil ribbons. For our side pasta, we're gonna be making a garlic butter parsley pasta. Rough chop up 5 or 6 cloves of garlic, fine chops of parsley, and cook your favorite pasta per the directions. Now liquids going into our sauce, we're gonna be using Marsala wine, obviously, a little bit of chicken stock, and a whole lot of butter. For our thickening agent, we're gonna be using cornstarch. We're gonna make a little slurry with 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and just enough chicken stock to get it dissolved. You could use a flour roux, but I find the cornstarch is a little bit more neutral in flavor. For chicken, we're using 2 8-ounce breasts. We're gonna butterfly them. Then we're gonna cut them into little scallopinis, little thin pieces. Using your knife, slice on the bias through that chicken breast. You wanna try and get 3 to 4 pieces out of each half of that chicken breast. So we're looking for 1.5 to 2 ounce bits. Once our knife works through all of those chicken breast cutlets, we're gonna spread them out on our cutting board, cover them in plastic wrap, that way we don't splash salmonella all over the crib. We're gonna pound these things out nice and flat. You could use a meat tenderizer, or like Raddad Cooks does, just this pan. Once we got them pounded out nice and thin, remove that plastic wrap. Give them a nice little seasoning with some salt and pepper. Real simple flavors in this dish right here, but man, they all combine to make such amazing flavors. We're gonna get a little breading station set up on the stove next to our pan. All we're gonna do is just dredge these in some flour. Do them one at a time, that way you make sure you got every last little cubic millimeter of that chicken breaded. So that's what that sauce is gonna grab onto. Now we're gonna preheat our pan on medium-high heat. You can do this in a saute pan. I love my thick, large cast iron pans. Just enough oil to go about halfway up on those cutlets. Once it hits around 450 degrees, we're ready to get cracking. We're gonna cook the chicken for anywhere between 1 minute to 2 on each side. Right when it starts to get golden brown, remember we pounded this stuff out thin, so it's gonna cook fast. And we're also gonna be adding it into the sauce a little bit later in the preparation, so we don't have to stress about getting that chicken cooked all the way. Once we've fried up all of our chicken, we're gonna remove the grease, but any little bits of flour that stay in there, we'll just leave them in there, call that flavor. Another ounce of oil back in the pan, and we can start adding our shallots and our mushrooms. We'll let those saute around for a minute or so. Once they start to cook down, we'll go ahead and add our roasted garlic. See, that nice deep gold color is what you want to go for when you're roasting that garlic. Add 3 ounces of Marsala wine and put the lid on that pan so we can sweat out those shrooms. After about 3-4 minutes, you'll see our mushrooms are starting to get kind of limp, getting all sweaty. Take that lid off, stir it around, add a little bit more wine. Point, we're gonna add our chicken back in to reheat it. Now this chicken, you could fry that up ahead of time earlier on in the day and then reheat it in here. Kind of did it all at once, but it's a great option with this meal. You can get the hardest part of it done first. While that chicken's reheating in that Marsala wine, we'll start flicking on our side pasta. We're rolling 2 tablespoons of butter with our rough chopped garlic. Add that pasta right on in there. A little bit of chicken stock. Put a lid on that and just let it kind of chill out. Reduce the heat down to medium-low. Let that chicken stock steam and reheat that pasta if it's a little cool. Now that our chicken is warmed back up, go ahead and pull it on out and you'll see that we don't have much sauce left. Or wine. I'm gonna deglaze that pan with 2 ounces of wine. Let it reduce by around 50%. This is a reduction sauce, so every time we reduce that wine down, we are just packing more and more flavor into a smaller amount of liquid. After our wine's reduced, we're gonna add 10 ounces of our chicken stock, give it a little taste, let that start reducing. Toss your parsley into your pasta and kill the heat on that because the side is ready. Once our sauce is reduced down by 30%, we're gonna go ahead and add in our slurry. Now you might not need this whole slurry, so while it's at a boil, slowly add it and see how thick it gets your sauce. If you overshoot and get too thick, you could always add a little more Marsala wine or chicken stock to thin it back out. But that's not ideal because then you won't have that reduction of flavors. Once you have your desired consistency, we're gonna finish it up with a tablespoon of butter swirled in there. And at this point, you can kill the heat too. You don't wanna overcook that butter and break the sauce. Season with salt and pepper to taste. Add back in our chicken, toss it in that nice thick Marsala sauce. We are ready to get plating. Put a little bit of that garlic, butter, parsley pasta up on the plate. 3 or 4 of those scallopinis. Nice scoop of sauce. Get that on out to mommy. If you got any ideas for dishes you'd like to see me prepare here on Raddad Cooks, be sure to let me know in the comments. I'll run your suggestions through my brain and spit them out in an easy to follow recipe that is sure to please. Peace. Thank you for tuning in, and if you love the content of this video, hit like on the way out. If you're new, become part of the Raddad Cooks ecosystem by subscribing and dinging that notification bell.
Then you hit the ooey like a root. Then you do your cat daddy, then you do the bop. Watching how everybody dance on the block. Ayy, block party going fast and the faster. Girl, drop it down like a little rapper. Everybody hit the ooey, ooey gooey. Hit the ooey jooey. I see how people make the beats. Then you do the bop like a rock on the top.